So we got some news for Seattle Seahawks fans. Meet your new defensive lineman. His name is Aldon Smith. Aldon Smith signed a one-year deal with the Seattle Seahawks. Last year, he played for the Dallas Cowboys. Last year, 18 games, he played in 808 snaps, and in those 808 snaps, he had 47 tackles, 5 sacks, and two passes defended. So a good productive year for Aldon Smith. A little bit of information on Aldon Smith. He played for a few teams within his years. In his first 2 seasons, he had 33 and a half sacks, which I think is absolutely unbelievable. But he ended up getting into some trouble with the law. After those he started off with the San Francisco 49ers. In 2013, he was arrested on suspicion of DUI after crashing his truck into a tree in a residential neighborhood in San Jose, California. In 2014, he was suspended by the NFL for 9 games for violating the league's personal conduct and substance abuse policies. August 2015, he was released by the Niners the day after he was arrested on a hit and run, DUI, and vandalism charges. He signed with the Raiders a month later, but he was suspended for a year for violating the league's substance abuse policy again. Smith was released by the Raiders in 2018 after he was arrested on multiple charges, including domestic violence, assault, and false imprisonment. He pleaded no contest to a pair of misdemeanor charges in November 2018 to settle his domestic violence case from earlier that year. He was suspended indefinitely from 2016 to 2019 before getting signed by the Dallas Cowboys last season. And before I pass on to you, Nate, because I'll let you start first, actually. This article was written by Todd Archer, ESPN staff writer. So you go first, Nate. Your thoughts on Aldon Smith signing with the Seattle Seahawks?
Well, first of all, congratulations to Aldon Smith. Best of luck to him and the Seahawks. Yeah, Mario. Like I was talking about before with the last video. Or a couple of videos before. Don't let, just because you were getting in trouble before doesn't mean it's gonna, define you as a person in the future. And obviously, of course, we don't know what's gonna happen in the future. And obviously, I hope, knock on wood, he doesn't get in any more trouble. But as long as he, like last year, he wasn't getting into no trouble, which is good. But the years before that, that's just what was going on. So hopefully he can keep that streak going where he stays in the NFL, he stays out of trouble, because he realized, like, hey, like, a lot of other players, they do some things, they don't get another chance in the NFL. But this guy kept on doing it and still did. So he's counting his blessings. You know what I mean? He's got to count his blessings. He's got to realize that, hey, like, I got to stay out of trouble. You know what I mean? As long as you do that, and as long as you do well on the field, which he did last year, he had a relatively productive season last year. As long as he does all that, he's chilling. You know what I mean? And I think this is the guy that Russell Wilson really needs on his end. The Seahawks had one of the worst offensive line in the league. They were not protecting Russell Wilson. And that was one of the things, like I said before in previous Seahawks videos, that was one of the reasons why Russell Wilson wasn't happy with the Seahawks. He wasn't getting protection. He wasn't getting any good production on the offense or even on the defense too. Because the team started off really, really good, and after that, they just went down a slippery slope. And just after that, it was just like it, it just wasn't impressive. I don't know what else to say. It was just not. It wasn't as well as we thought it would have been. But the Seahawks are addressing these issues because, like I said in previous videos, once Russell Wilson's gone, he's gone. You don't get another guy like Russell Wilson at least for a while. That's that like that's a once in a generational talent right there. So once he's gone, once you pissed him off and he's gone for good. And that's going to be very, very difficult to replace. So I'm glad the Seahawks are doing the right thing. Because I know some teams, they would piss a player off and they would just go. You know what I mean? They wouldn't even address the issue. Seahawks are doing just that. And moving forward, I hope that's what they keep on doing. Because, like I said, once Russell Wilson's out that door, he's out that door. He's not coming back. Let's be honest, he's not. So, as going back to Aldon Smith, though, like I said, stay out of trouble. Do what you gotta do, and you're chilling. You were doing good last year. Keep it going. And as for all, and going back to you guys now, take this as a lesson. Y'all did some. We all make mistakes. You know what I mean? Like I said before, we all make mistakes, but don't let that define your future. Just learn from them and move on. As long as you don't end up behind bars, then you should be okay. But with that being said, best of luck to Alden Smith. And again, guys, don't let your mistakes get the best of you. You know what I mean? Just keep moving. That's all you gotta do. So that being said, best of luck to Alden Smith and best of luck to the Seahawks.
Yeah, again, best of luck to Aldon Smith. First of all, Nate, you explained everything that I would have ever said about his past. You can definitely learn from your past mistakes. Aldon Smith got in trouble, a little bit of trouble with the law. Last year, he was able to stay out of trouble, and was able to have a productive season with the Dallas Cowboys. Going to Aldon Smith in general, this is a good addition to the Seattle Seahawks. I felt like defensive line was something that they kind of struggled with, which is the reason why they had Carlos Dunlap and they brought him in and everything like that. So I'm glad that Aldon Smith has joined this team. And who's to say he couldn't again, he had a very productive season with the Dallas Cowboys, and this was his first season in 3 years. Who's to say that he's not going to suddenly start picking up steam again? Let me tell you something. In his first seasons, he was an absolute monster. We're talking about a guy, Nate, who had 33 and a half sacks within his first 2 seasons. That is more than 16 sacks a season. Think about that. More than 16 sacks a season. That is more than 16 and a half sacks a season. This guy, in those first 2 seasons, could have contended for Defensive Player of the Year. Simple as that. He could have contended for MVP with those stats right there. Those are two amazing stats. He was in a conversation with him, Von Miller, and there were a bunch of other great players on that list as well. So yeah, I mean, Aldon Smith, last year he had a very productive season. Was it 16 sacks that season? No, it was 5. But who's to say from 5 he can't go from 5 to 7 or 5 to 10? Who's saying he can't gain? He got his feet wet last year, and he could end up kind of going into the water this year. And actually doing some productive things for the Seattle Seahawks. I like this signing by them because defense was a big issue for them last year. A big, big issue for them last year. And I feel like it's still going to be an issue because, again, you lost Shaquille Griffin. So you lost your top corner, so you're going to have to replace that void, which is going to be very hard to do. But adding Aldon Smith is a good move, especially for a one-year deal. I think that is an absolute steal, especially if Aldon Smith ends up producing more than what he did last year. Aldon Smith, I want to go to his PFF grade real quick because gives kind of like that gives kind of an idea of how good he was last year overall. Let me just pull that up real quick. Internet's being a little bit. All right, right here. So Aldon Smith last year, he had a PFF grade of 66.3, which isn't too bad. It's not the greatest, but it's not too bad. But I can definitely see Aldon Smith improving from last year to this year, considering the fact that he had a whole 16 games last year, and now he's finally starting to I feel like he'll start to kind of like go back to the old Aldon Smith little by little. It's going to take some time, but I feel like it could happen. But yeah, going back to what you said, let this be a lesson. If you go, we all hit bumps in the road, we all make mistakes, but you know what? We can come back and we can end up doing what we did before. That is the lesson right there. You just got to keep going. Foot on the pedal at all times. So with that being said, I hope Aldon Smith stays out of trouble. I hope he stays healthy as well. And with that being said, I'm curious to see how he's going to be doing with the Seattle Seahawks. So best of luck to him. Best of luck to the Seattle Seahawks as well.